Right. How did that happen?
And how did that happen?
I told you we don't know.
Don't know.
So you have no idea how it started?
No.
You see, he's not addressing even the question if there's an eternal God.
Hey, everyone. So this is kind of an unofficial follow-up to my video that says science cannot disprove God, which of course it cannot. I was referring to a TikTok live that I saw. The host was saying that he doesn't believe in God because he believes in the scientific method, which right out of the gate, that's a category error. The scientific method is not capable of being a replacement for God. So it's just a nonsensical statement. It doesn't make any sense. And it kind of reminded me of a discussion I was having in the comments of that video where it got into epistemology and ontology and evidence and what is evidence, what is reality, and we got into a lot of different things. So I came across this interview with Ben Stein and Richard Dawkins, and it's called Expelled, No Intelligence Allowed. So let's go to that video with Ben Stein and Richard Dawkins.
Hello, Professor Dawkins. How are you? I'm Ben Stein. I'm so sorry to keep you waiting. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
You have written that God is a psychotic delinquent invented by mad, deluded people.
No, I didn't say quite that. I said something rather better than that.
Oh, well, please tell us.
All right, right off the bat, just the arrogance and the pomp. I said something quite a bit better than that. I'm much smarter than that comment you said. Ridiculous.
What you said. Please tell us what you said.
Well, I would have to read it from the book.
No, please.
The God of the Old Testament is arguably the most unpleasant character in all fiction. Jealous and proud of it, a petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak, a vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser, a misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully.
So that's what you think of God?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he thinks of God. So let's just look at what he said. I think I have it up here. Arguably the most unpleasant character in all fiction. It's not fiction, but that's beside the point. We'll let him have that. Jealous and proud of it, a petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak, a vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser. These are all from positions of morality. So the first thing I would say is that Richard Dawkins is already smuggling in morality, which I'm sure he'll say is based on societal agreement. But yeah, you don't get to make that assumption that you can impose a morality on somebody who theoretically created everything. Like where are you coming from that you have the right to say that the creator of all things, not just this little teeny tiny planet in the middle of the universe, or not in the middle, somewhere in the universe, that he's a misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal maniac, malevolent bully. If you're acknowledging that he's all these things, first off, how are you imposing all of these things on something you don't believe, or a thing that you don't believe exists? I guess you're saying if he exists, this is what you think of him. But if you're going to say, well, if he exists, then you have to also suppose, well, if he exists, he is the creator of all things. You can't put these things on no one. You are saying that the creator, as the Bible describes him, are these things. So if you're going to be allowed to say these things about him, then you're going to have to accept that he makes the claim that he is a creator of the entire universe, that he, along with Jesus, created everything. That's the claim from the Bible. And I'm not using scientific method. I'm outside of that because I can look at theology, I can look at philosophy, I can look at whatever I want to make my claim. It is the scientific method that is bound to science. It's bound to physical things, not any statement that I say. When you make the statement that the scientific method is a replacement for God, You're the one that's taking science out of its category and saying that it's bigger than the creator himself. And you don't really have right to do that. You're just looking at the created or the evolved thing. It doesn't matter what the thing is or who created the thing or how it got here. You're just looking at the results. You don't know what the beginning was. We have some ideas, but anyway, let's go back to that video.
How about if people believed in a God of infinite lovingness and kindness and forgiveness and generosity, sort of like the modern day God? Why spoil it for them? Why not just let them have their fun and enjoy it?
I mean, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. I write a book, people can read it if they want to. I believe that it is a liberating thing.
Okay, so that looked like that kind of caught him by surprise, because it's a great question. Like, what is it to you what other people think? Like, what is this obsession you have to make people believe what you want to believe? It sounds like you're kind of like a cult leader, because you believe in something so much. Well, I don't believe in anything, but yet you're so compelled to say that science can explain everything. Stein has a really good question following up, so let's have a listen.
To free yourself from primitive superstition.
So religion's a primitive superstition?
I think it is.
So he presupposes that religion is a superstition. He doesn't know that because he doesn't know the origin of everything. He doesn't know everything. So he is presupposing that.
Yes.
So you believe it's liberating to tell people that there is no God?
I think a lot of people, when they give up God, feel a great sense of release and freedom.
Why do you think that? I mean, what's your scientist, what's your data?
I think, well, I've had a lot of letters saying that, and I've...
There are 8 billion people in the world, Dr. Dawkins. How many letters have you had?
No, I haven't done that.
Yeah, so he's speaking to sample size. There's 8 billion people in the world. How many letters did you have? Did you have 1 billion? 2 billion? Did you have 8 billion? Did you ask all of humanity? And this is where what science does, or scientists or those that support science as a replacement to God. They will try to smuggle in some kind of authority they have, which that they do not have, is to say, like, oh yeah, it's a release, it's a this, it's a that. And Ben Stein points out, oh well, so what's your evidence? He doesn't have any evidence. He has a couple of letters. Was it 100 letters? Was it 1,000 letters? Come on.
Professor Dawkins seemed so convinced that God doesn't exist that I wondered if he would be willing to put a number on it.
Well, it's hard to put a figure on it, but I mean, I'd put it as something like, 99% against or something.
Well, how do you know it's 99%
I
against,
don't.
say, and not
Great
97%?
No, I did. You asked me to put a figure on it, and I'm not comfortable putting a figure on it.
So how do you know it's 99 and it's not 97?
I think I just think it's very unlikely.
What? But you couldn't put a number on it?
No, of course not. No.
So it could be 49%.
Well, it would be. I mean, I think it's unlikely, but it's quite far from 50%.
How do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I put an argument in the book.
Well, then who did create the heavens and the...
So again, he's making an appeal from emotion. He doesn't want there to be a God, so he says it's 99% positive that there's not. He reluctantly gave that number, but he has no basis to make a 99% claim. He doesn't, as Ben Stein pointed out, he doesn't have a claim to say it's not 49%, and he doesn't even have a claim to say it's 1%. He doesn't have a claim. He cannot make a claim or substantiate a claim on any percentage. It could be a fraction of a percent. So I've thought about this question in the past, not quite the way it's worded here, but I've thought about science. How much of everything that there is to know do we know? How much does science account for? Is that 1%? Is that 99%? What percentage is it that we know? What percentage do we not know that we have no idea about? That's a question that's pretty interesting. And that's why Dawkins didn't want to put a number on it, because he doesn't have any data to back up his claim.
Why do you use the word who? You see, you immediately beg the question by using the word who.
Well, then how did it get created?
Well, by a very slow process.
Well, how did it?
You see the hesitation, right? He says a very slow process. That doesn't explain anything. That doesn't. Ben Stein asked, well, then how was it? He said, well, who created? Dawkins countered, well, you're presupposing, and this is what was brought up in the comments of my previous video, like you're presupposing. And so I'm not presupposing. I'm going by what God said, but that's a side issue. I know that's outside of science, but Ben did a good thing here. He said, okay, then how was it created? And you just saw, you could hear the marbles rattling in his head. There's somebody that's so intelligent, so smart, right? He's definitely way smarter than I am, Richard Dawkins. And he's dumbfounded, and he just says, a very slow process. That doesn't say who created the process. And that's what you have to do, is you just ask questions. Well, then how was it created? And you're going to get, I don't know. We don't know. I don't know. What's reality? I don't know what reality is. It could be this. It could be that. It could be, but I know what it isn't God. And that's the argument, and that's the point.
Start.
Nobody knows how it started. We know the kind of event that it must have been. We know the sort of event that must have happened for the origin of life.
And what was that?
It was the origin of the first self-replicating molecule.
Right. How did that happen?
And how did that happen?
I told you we don't know.
Don't know.
So you have no idea how it started?
No. Nor has anybody.
Nor has anyone else. Mm-hmm. What do you think is the possibility that intelligent design might turn out to be the answer to some issues in genetics or in evolution?
It could come about in the following way. It could be that...
This gets real interesting. So he says, how could it come to be? So Richard Dawkins is going to give his explanation, and it's very interesting.
At some earlier time, somewhere in the universe, a civilization evolved by probably
evolution.
some kind of Darwinian means to a very, very high level of technology, and designed a form of life that they seeded onto perhaps this planet. Now, that is a possibility,
I think Ben fell asleep.
an intriguing possibility. And I suppose it's possible that you might find evidence for that if you look at the details of biochemistry, molecular biology. You might find a signature of some sort of designer.
Wait a second. Richard Dawkins thought intelligent design might be a legitimate pursuit?
And that designer could well be
design.
a higher intelligence from elsewhere in the universe.
Well,
but that higher intelligence would itself have had to have come about by some explicable or ultimately explicable process. It couldn't have just jumped into existence spontaneously. That's the point.
So, Professor...
And it couldn't just have jumped into existence, like a statement that he doesn't know. The Big Bang would disagree with that, by the way. And as I said in the previous video, the Big Bang Theory, which is a 10 out of 10 on how things started, goes back to the theory of singularity, which is it's a theory where they can go back to just like a minuscule fraction of a second before the Big Bang. We don't know what's goes before the Big Bang, because even the laws of physics, they don't work before that. So we can only theorize up to the moment that the expansion of the singularity began. So we do not know what is before that. To say that there is space-time before that, we don't know. It doesn't measure correctly. So from that point, he can't say what he just said.
Professor Dawkins was not against intelligent design, just certain types of designers, such as God.
Yeah.
So the Hebrew God, the God of the Old Testament, he doesn't exist in your view?
Certainly. I mean, that would be a very unpleasant prospect.
And the Holy Trinity of the New Testament,
nothing like that. No.
What if after you died, you ran into God? He said, what have you been doing, Richard? I mean, what have you been doing? I've been trying to be nice to you. I gave you a multi-million-dollar paycheck over and over again with your book, and look what you did.
Bertrand Russell had that point put to him, and he said something like, "Sir, Why did you take such pains to hide yourself?
But if the intelligent design people are right, God isn't hidden. We may even be able to encounter God through science, if we have the freedom to go there. What could be more intriguing than that?
Sure. Okay, so from there, I was reminded of a debate that happened roughly nine or 10 years ago between John Lennox and Richard Dawkins. And it wasn't I don't want to get into the debate itself, but at that debate, John Lennox, who is a mathematician, I think he went to the same school. I might be wrong on that. I thought that he went to the same school as Richard Dawkins. Anyway, he's a brilliant man in his own right. And he said he made a statement, and I'll just let him make the comment about his question, his retort to Richard Dawkins' question.
Richard Dawkins, he shows it, he reveals it in the God Delusion, where he says, and here's one of his main arguments. I couldn't believe it. I just could not believe it. If you say God created all this, you're going to have to ask who created God. And that's nonsense. And it is nonsense, but not in the way he thought. Because if you ask who created God, you're assuming God is created. Well,
presupposing.
I don't believe in a created God. We usually call them idols, and we don't need Dawkins to tell us they don't exist. You see, he's not addressing even the question if there's an eternal God. The Bible claims God is eternal. He's not created. So his question doesn't even apply, as I pointed out to him in that debate. But then I got the sting in the tail. I said, you believe the universe created you, don't you? So let me ask you your question, which you think is valid. Who created your creator? I'm still waiting for an answer, and that's 10 years ago.
So what scientists do, or I should say atheists do, they rely on science to kick the can down the road. Saying who created your creator is obviously a nonsensical question, because a creator doesn't have a creator because he is the creator. It has to stop somewhere. I mean, there's religions that have tiers of gods that go in their creator, but it doesn't matter how many levels of gods you have. You get to a final source that is the beginning, much like the Big Bang is our beginning, theoretically speaking. So what was brilliant is John pointed out, like, well, you say you believe that the universe is your creator. It did it itself. Well, who created it? And that's where, I mean, what are we, 10 years in, he says. Like, interview was a year ago, 2 years ago. And he hasn't got an answer in 10 years because Richard Dawkins doesn't have an answer. In all of his brilliance and everything that he's done, and he's got a very illustrious career, he can't answer the question. And as you saw in the Ben Stein interview, he had no data to back up his emotional pleas and his emotional claims that God doesn't exist. It was just obviously a rant against God because he doesn't like God and his rule set, and God and his justification for doing what he does and what he has done. He doesn't like it. So to say he doesn't like it, in order to support that, he just says God doesn't exist because he's mad at God, apparently. Seems very pissed off about it, if you ask me. So that's what I have for you on that video. Yeah, when questioned and questioned and questioned again, the atheist comes up with donuts. Yep. Or they make stupid claims like the scientific method is replacing God. Can't replace God because it's a category error. It's a fallacy. It's a false equivalency. So it comes back to the original claim. Science cannot disprove God. So, true statement. All right, everybody. So that was the video. I'll follow up with another one in some time. Okay. Have a good one, guys. Love you. Peace.